You ever have one of those mornings where you walk into the shop, grab a cast iron hand plane, and it feels like you just picked up a block of dry ice?
Every Tuesday from November to March, Tiger. I usually keep my coffee mug pressed against my chisel handles for 5 minutes just so I don't lose a finger to frostbite.
It's the worst. I remember back in my first garage setup, no insulation, just thin aluminum siding between me and the Minnesota tundra. I was trying to glue up a walnut tabletop, and I didn't realize that PVA glue basically turns into chalky cottage cheese if it hits 40 degrees. I spent 6 hours clamping that beast, came back the next morning, and the joints just slid apart. It looked like the wood was rejecting the very idea of being a table.
Cottage cheese joinery. That's a glowing review for your portfolio. But honestly, it's not just about the glue, right? It's the rust, the wood movement, the fact that you can't feel your toes. Today, we're finally tackling the big one, climate control.
It's the boring shop upgrade that changes everything. We're talking insulation, heating, cooling, and the invisible monster, humidity.
See, everyone wants to buy the new 12-inch jointer, but nobody wants to buy a roll of R13 fiberglass. It's not sexy.
No, it's itchy, and it looks like pink cotton candy from a nightmare. But listen, if you're trying to heat a shop that isn't insulated, you're basically trying to fill a goldfish bowl that's got a half-inch drill hole in the bottom. You can keep the tap running all day, but your wallet's going to bleed out before the fish can swim.
I saw a stat while we were researching this. Some guy, rock jock on the forums, spent about $1,500 on insulation, and his monthly power bill dropped from $570 to barely over $100. That's a $400 a month raise just for stuffing stuff in the walls.
It's the only tool in the shop that actually pays you back in cash. And it's not just walls. People forget the ceiling. Heat's got a mind to go straight up and out. If you do nothing else, blow some cellulose into that attic space. And don't get me started on garage doors. Those big metal curtains are essentially giant radiators for the cold.
I actually used one of those DIY garage door kits last year. The little foam panels with the adhesive clips. It felt like a craft project, but the temperature difference sitting 3 feet away from the door was massive.
It stops the draft ghosts. But there's a trade-off. Once you seal that shop up tight like a Tupperware container, you've got to talk about air.
Right, because if air isn't escaping, the sawdust isn't either.
Exactly. You've created a lungs-only filtration system if you aren't careful. If you're going to button up the shop for winter, your dust collection has to be top tier, or you're basically living inside a pepper shaker.
Let's talk about the heat itself. I see people on Instagram all the time with these beautiful wood-burning stoves in the corner of their shops. It looks so cozy, Tiger. Very master craftsman in the woods vibes.
It's a trap, Alex. Look, I love the smell of a wood fire as much as the next guy, but an open flame in a room full of airborne flour, which is what fine sawdust is a recipe for a very brief, very bright career.
So, no Viking hearths for my tiny shop. What's the move then?
If you've got the budget and you're starting from the slab up, radiant floor heat is the king of the hill. It's like the shop is giving your boots a hug all day. But for the rest of us mortals, forced air is the standard.
Gas or electric? Because my electric bill already looks like a phone number.
Electric is cheap to buy, but it'll eat you alive on the monthly. If you have a gas line, a separated combustion heater is the dream. It draws its air from outside, so it's not sucking in your sawdust and trying to ignite it.
What about those little big red radiant heaters? I see them hanging in every other garage.
They're great for spot heating. They don't heat the air, they heat you. It's like standing in a sunbeam. Great if you're just standing at the lathe, but the second you step 2 feet to the left to grab a wrench, you're back in the ice age.
I've actually had people ask me about those kerosene torpedo heaters. Thoughts?
Only if you enjoy the smell of a bus terminal and a pounding headache. Those things put off a ton of moisture too. You'll walk in the next morning and every square inch of your table saw will be covered in a fine orange coat of oops rust.
Rust, the 4-letter word of the metalworking world. That leads us right into the swampy part of the conversation. Humidity.
People think temperature is what messes up wood. It's not. It's the water in the air. Wood is basically a giant stack of straws. When it's humid, those straws drink up, the wood swells, and suddenly that drawer you spent 3 days fitting perfectly won't open without an act of Congress.
And then winter hits, the air dries out, and that same drawer has a gap big enough to throw a cat through.
Precisely. You need a hygrometer. It's a $10 tool that's more important than a premium marking gauge. If you see that number creeping above 55 or 60%, you're in the danger zone for tool rust and wood movement.
I finally bit the bullet and got a dedicated 70-pint dehumidifier with a hose that drains out the wall. No more emptying the bucket every 4 hours.
That's the pro move. Emptying the bucket is a chore you'll eventually stop doing, and then the machine just sits there while your cast iron turns into an English muffin. And on the flip side, the summer.
Ugh, the summer. Doing glue ups when it's 95 degrees and the humidity is 90%. The glue dries before you can even get the clamps on. It's like trying to spread peanut butter on a hot sidewalk.
It's miserable. And heat is a safety hazard. When you're sweating into your safety glasses and your brain is getting foggy from the heat, that's when the table saw starts looking real thirsty.
So, what's the cooling strategy? Most of us can't afford to run a central air unit for a garage.
Window units are the old reliable, but they struggle with dust. I've seen guys build little filter boxes around them, which helps. But the mini split is taking over the world for a reason. They're quiet, they're efficient, and a lot of them handle heating too.
They're a bit of an investment up front, though. If someone's on a ramen noodle budget, what can they do?
Fans, but not just any fans. Get those high-velocity industrial floor fans. You want to move air, not just stir it. And, this is a weird one, block the sun. I used to have a west-facing window in my old shop. At 3 p.m., that window turned into a magnifying glass. I put up a simple scrap wood shutter on the outside, and the shop temp dropped 5 degrees instantly.
Nature's air conditioning, shade and a breeze.
Simple stuff. Also, if you're a blacksmith or a welder, you've got to think about the thermal mass. Everything in your shop is a battery for heat. Once those anvils and steel tables get hot, they stay hot long after the sun goes down. Ventilation isn't just a suggestion then, it's survival.
So, if you had to give a day one priority list for someone who's tired of shivering or sweating through their projects, where do they start?
Start by plugging the holes. Get a can of that expanding foam and go on a hunting expedition. Every gap where a pipe goes through a wall, every crack in the siding, seal it, then hit the ceiling with insulation.
And the moisture?
Buy the hygrometer today. If you can't afford a dehumidifier yet, keep a light coat of paste wax or bow shield on your metal tools. It's like putting a raincoat on your table saw.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that climate control isn't a luxury. It's a precision adjustment. You wouldn't work with a dull blade, so why work in a room that's fighting your materials?
Well put. A comfortable maker is a focus maker, and a focus maker gets to keep all 10 fingers.
That's a pretty good goal for the week.
It's the only goal that matters. Now go wax your cast iron before the morning dew gets to